Well, hello everybody. Happy Monday and welcome to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. I'm Kathy Holmes. As always, I'm delighted to be I was going to say your guest because I do feel like I'm a guest in your home, but I actually am the host of the program. So thanks for tuning in. Happy to be with you today. In my Zoom booth, I have Jolyn Green and I have Jennifer Hufnagel. We're going to talk about all things AI and some new
Woo!
programs that are in our community. So let's get started. Hey, you two, how are you doing?
Great, thanks.
Great to have you.
Awesome. Happy,
Julie,
happy morning.
happy morning. It's actually, this is being recorded in the morning, but it's actually for 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's so good. Our listeners get a kick out of stuff like that. You guys, Jennifer, you've been on the program before. So just as a refresher to our guests, the last time that you were here, we were talking about all things AI. How about you give us a little bit of an uptick on what's been happening for you and for our community as it relates to AI, and then we'll bring Jolynn into the conversation.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you, Kathy. And yes, afternoon. It has been quite the roller coaster, especially with everything that has come out over the last couple of weeks. Generative AI, ChatGPT, and GPT-5 has come out. It's really taking that democratization to the next level because it is available for free users. I'm working with more rural and remote communities, doing training with businesses in the States, really, on this mission to not leave any business behind and not on the AI freight train that's coming toward us. So it has been busier I've just been really excited. And it's been a little overwhelming, especially if you're in this space every day. So I can imagine if you're a small business going, oh my gosh. And that's what we're here to talk about today is a program that's going to help them sort of get to that next level.
That's fantastic. And since our last get together, Jennifer, I've really dug into AI. I have to tell
Yeah.
you, I absolutely adore it, specifically ChatGPT, and not for the purpose of, just looking something out, but actually using it as a tool. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Jolynn, you're actually with Community Future Central Island. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Jennifer and really how Futures is leading the way on Vancouver Island for this experience.
Sure. Well, Jennifer and I have worked together on projects on different occasions, and we were talking about where AI is going, how we can utilize it in our office. Jennifer did a project with us, and it was really about streamlining our operations and looking at how we could integrate certain aspects of AI, or even looking about what kind of softwares would we use to be able to do some of the work we needed to do in a more robust fashion. We have a very small staff. There are three of us. And so how do we get the work done that we need to get done? So as we went through this journey, AI came up and we started using ChatGPT. And we had to say that in our office, it's made a significant difference just in, we need a framework for this, or what do you think about that? Or, whether it's an email that we have to craft and there's a lot of information, we use it for those types of aspects. And then thereafter that, I decided I should maybe get a little bit more learning. And I took a workshop with something called the Forum. And it was actually where we were going in and doing some coding with some things like Replit. So we did some Q&As for our website and a few other things. And I realized, you know what? This is an opportunity for small businesses because we are really, even though we're a nonprofit, we are a small business. How
Mhm.
do we utilize some of this technology to the best of our organization's benefits? And how do we help alleviate the stress of workplace where it's like, I got so many things to do. I have to do everything myself, or can I use some of these tools to help me to get something done that would normally take me a half an hour, 3 minutes? And so how can I be more productive in my day to day? And so that's kind of how that started out. And then I said to Jennifer, there's an opportunity for us to write an application to the provincial government for funding through REDIP, which is a program that they have. And I said, let's give it a whirl. So we did, and we were successful proponents, which we were very excited about. So we now have funding to be able to pull together a series of workshops that will be over a period of about a year and a half. So it's just not a one and done. And
Wow.
so we can go through and work with small businesses to say, this is what AI is. This is how you can integrate it into your day. And how do you get yourself, I guess, ready because
Mm,
you want to be able to bolt some of these on these services, but I think also too you want to be able to take it from bolting it on to how do you actually implement it so it is a part of your culture and your organization. And we're not, I don't see it as replacing people. I think what it does is it enhances the individuals and people's skill
absolutely.
sets that they have. Here, I feel we always have to have a human element to what we do.
And the good news about ChatGPT and other AI forms is that you can tailor the work to fit whatever your need is. And
Yep.
and I for myself, I'm an older person, and I was at first quite intimidated by the
Mm,
idea of trying AI. It was like, oh my God, it's too much for me. And I know a lot of people are quite afraid of it. Jennifer, how do you kind of get people to push past their insecurity about that new learning, that new tool? To make it better for not only organizations, but for individuals.
absolutely. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, Kathy. It's one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to be technical to use AI, and you don't need to be. Both Jolynn and the three of us are women of a certain age, and it is especially AI. We have these skills of great communication, critical thinking, being able to troubleshoot. These tools are an enhancement to the skills that most of us already have. So I hear time and time again on calls with clients say, I'm too old. And I said, you're not too old. Can you communicate well? Well, yes. And can you troubleshoot and have critical thinking? Absolutely. And the number one way to get over fear, Kathy, is the AI literacy part, is learning a little bit about it because people just don't know. And we're all on this learning journey together. At the end of the day, we don't really know where it's going to go. Are the robots going to come and get us? And I know we joke that I say please and thank you to my generative AI in case the robots come, but we don't really know. But we have to come to it with a little part of like this feeling of I'm curiosity, this a little bit of excitement, a little bit of this nervousness, and get in and practice and play. And that's the only way you can move through the fear. But it is absolutely a misnomer that just because you're of a certain age or you're not technical, that you can't learn AI. I
It,
think it's really important to understand how to use a computer and click around and be on a Zoom call or something like that. But learning AI, gosh, I can teach anybody.
And the good news is that AI does actually work alongside you. It is not an alien kind of tool. It actually really does.
Cool.
But there is something that we do have to be careful of, and I just really want to touch on this a little bit. Not too, I don't want to scare people off or get people, caught up in it. But you do hear about it all the time that AI isn't always telling the truth about the
Yeah.
facts that they're pulling in. And so I do think it's important that that critical thinking piece is still remains so very important. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Having a human in the loop, like Jolynn was referring to, very important. Just like if you were looking up a statistic, you would go to the library historically or go to the internet historically. There are things that you can do to ensure that there is more accurate information. You can ask if you're looking up and doing research. You can say something at the end of the prompt is give me every single site that you used, or ensure that you're 100% or 95% accurate. You can't just take the AI slop or the general AI that comes out of it verbatim. You have to go and check your sources, just like you would back in the day with the library or with the internet, to see if it's relevant or not. So there are absolutely things that you need to do. I think it's also important for accuracy is the more context you give. For Jolynn, for an example, so we're saying things like Community Futures Central Island, located in Parksville, British Columbia. We have to give a lot of context to get more accurate output. So prompting is so important. Prompting really is just, let's not gatekeep this. It's just really asking really great questions to a tool. And I like how you said it was a tool. This isn't here to replace you. This is a tool to augment you.
Having said that, Jillian, I'm going to bring you back into the equation because Community Futures is known for helping people, get their businesses off the ground. And people are quite afraid that they're going to lose that human portion to this, right? That they're going to lose what is important to them for, getting more employees to the table and making sure that people aren't having their jobs replaced. It's a bit of a fear. Have you seen that, Jillian, in our communities?
It's interesting because I think we see both sides of the coin.
Right.
We have individuals that are coming into our office. I mean, part of our planning that we do is we help people to prepare business plans and those types of things. And we have so many clients coming in and going, well, where do I start with a business plan? And what we say is, well, one of the things you can do is you can use ChatGPT to say, I need a framework for a business plan. And so you start there, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm looking at doing market research. I need to do a competitor analysis. Well, it's talking about how do we use ChatGPT or other, it can be Perplexity, whomever, Claude. How do we actually sit down and look at how do we get that information? And so
Mhm.
you can use Perplexity or Claude and ChatGPT and then compare the two. And probably in your community, if you're starting a business, who some of your competitors might be. And so you use your own common sense and logic along with that. But I think, those are some of the things that we see. So we see people that embrace AI, and then we see people who are leery and like, I don't know if I want to go down that path.
Mhm.
And we just say, you know what? It's up to you, play with it. But I think once you actually start to utilize it, you see where it really can be a tool. If you're not mathematically inclined, and there's a lot of people who aren't, you can go in and say, here's what I think is my cash flow, or here is my expenses and my income in my business. How much money do I need to break even?
Mm.
And it can tell you some of those things in a mathematical way. And I think that it's a helpful tool for business people. And not everyone it's their game, but for a lot of people, it can be a really useful tool and in breaking down barriers around how to find information and to be able to actually synthesize that information. Because for a lot of people, that's a really difficult thing to do. Business plan is a fairly large document.
For sure.
And so, how do you break it down into those bite sized pieces and have someone to help you to actually then take it and pull it together? And AI is a really great tool to be able to do that.
I think what people need to do is just sort of ask it something simple to begin with. And Jennifer really had us do that. Had the luxury of taking one of her courses early on. And, it was like, okay, well, I'm planning a trip to XYZ, tell me where I could stay, tell me some of the great sites, show me all that information, put together a plan for me to spend this 2-week vacation. And it was inspiring how quickly it all came together. You didn't need to have a whole brand new set of tools. And I'll be honest with you, since I took that program, I'm a card carrying member now, in fairness, of all things ChatGPT. In recent days, I've had to write some incredibly labor intensive reports. I certainly had to go back and forth with ChatGPT, but what would have taken me in the past several hours to do, I was able to do in 15 minutes, really, with going back and forth and going back and forth. And, recently I had come home from quite an extensive experience and I needed to capture it right away. I needed to capture the emotion. I needed to capture the main points of it. And ChatGPT molded into my way of speaking, my way of communicating. It was really quite outstanding.
Mhm.
Jennifer, that for me was a big part of it. Have you seen how ChatGPT has evolved? Because you did mention just a little bit earlier before we got on that there's some upgrades to ChatGPT. There's new stuff coming out. Let's talk a little about that.
Sure. And I just wanted to comment one thing on the humanness. I feel that you gain more humanness because you have more time back in the day.
Agreed.
Whether it's your employees having just the brain capacity to sit and think creatively for an hour on a project, or when they leave and go home at the end of the day, they don't have the 10 things that they can spend more focused time with their family. Or maybe it's getting out on the land and not being in front of your computer doing an administrative heavy task like writing grant funding for one of your programs. And there are some really, so it's a little controversial if you look at what's happening with GPT-5, which is the new model, and OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT. I do training. When I say ChatGPT, it could be Claude or Perplexity or Gemini. Unfortunately, if you're a co-pilot, it's terrible, don't use it. But anyway, push that aside. When I talk about generative AI, I usually mean ChatGPT because it's the easiest to learn. So they just rolled out a new model last week, and some of the backlash was that they took away some old models, so maybe they didn't roll it out that well. But the positiveness that came out of it is that they have a brand new model. So think of a model as like an engine in under the hood of a car. To every single free user, 700 million free users just got access to the brand new model, which is faster. It gives you more accurate information. It hallucinates less. Some of the other updates in the last month is that you have deep research. I'll give you an example. I'm going on a trip next month and I need some walking sandals. And so I had done a deep research, think PhD level research, or most of us have had to do a research project that would have taken days. All I said was find all the Keen sandals for women. I put in the website, keenfootwear.ca, and output the table with ratings, rankings, and descriptions. Only includes ones that are suitable for walking or hiking, and in Canada. And I selected deep research, which you get 5 of these for the free program. Wow. And it took 36 minutes, so it takes a little long, but can you imagine? It would have taken me probably 4 or 5 hours to go and click and read reviews, and it output a table with everything, and it ranked it for me. So at least I have a starting point now to say, okay, it's the Hyperport H2 sandal from Keen. So that's the type of level of research that you can do. Competitive analysis, as Jolynn was saying. Mm-hmm. You can, if you're looking, I was working with a regional district and they have some water shortage issues. And I said, well, why don't you look at other rural and remote communities around the world to see how maybe they're tackling or solving some of the water challenges? I said, oh, okay. And I said, and here's a prompt, again, a question to run in ChatGPT for you to go and look up that information. So there are some incredible new updates, and I love that it is just so democratized now, especially with this new model. And yes, maybe they could have rolled it out. I've been in software for many years and done rollouts that have flopped, but I'm pretty excited with it, especially from the democratization. It's not in the hands of Silicon Valley anymore, even more so. Oh, I should say they have a study and learn now option, which is fantastic. I'm going to Albania, so I was using that last night to say, teach me some of the key phrases. How do you pronounce it? Listen to my pronunciation. So there's a study and learn that doesn't just, great for kids too, that just doesn't give you the answer. So there are these new features. So lots of great things.
It's funny that you should say that because in reality, like ChatGPT and these models can be used for a variety of things. One of the things that I loved, especially recently when I had to do that report, is I didn't have to sit at my tablet and type everything in. I could speak to it and have those prompts done that way. And what I also find, going back to something that Jolynn said, is that when you're building a business and you're trying to put business plans together, if you're not necessarily adept at that, what it does a little bit of that thinking for you. It does also, I think, support some of the questions that you might not know that you need to ask. We don't know what we don't know, right?
We don't know what we don't know. Absolutely. One of the other, I just wanted to share another very specific business. We call it a use case or an example. It's working with a large marketing firm, and we did a second training yesterday, and they're using it now. They're a little bit more advanced. Of course, they're in the AI space, but they have different personas or ideal customer profiles. So, Jolynn at her office will have, an ideal customer persona that she does loans to. So they were able to build out those personas as to how to talk to them. What are the demographics? What are their pain points? And then we created a custom GPT. Well, this is their homework, that every time they write a blog post or a LinkedIn post or a Facebook post or any sort of communication, they're speaking specifically to that marketing professional or that call center professional. So being able to, you would have had to hire or pay thousands of dollars for a consultant to, do something like your strategic plan or to create these personas or even to do marketing. So Julie and I speak about this all the time, the lack of resources of people on the island to fill these spots. So, yes, jobs will go away. Absolutely. It's happened over the decades of new technology that's come out. But the new jobs and the way that we pivot and to be able to fill these resource gaps, that's the exciting part. But you just need to understand how to use it. And that's what this program does.
Let's talk more about the program, Jolyn. Between the two of you, both of you guys have been working on this fantastic program. I think it's AI Upscaling Central Island for New Business. Let's break that down a little bit. Like, what are you teaching? What is this going to look like?
Sure. Well, I'll let Jen go into the depths, but I can go into like the overview. And so what we're doing is we're doing a series of workshops. And what happens is there's 3 workshops in the first set that we're doing, first series. And basically it's going to be starting out with a 2-hour session which is once a month. And so in the month of September, we'll have September, the first workshop, October to the month of October is the second workshop. And then the month of December is the third workshop. So what happens is you have a period of time to actually take the workshop. It's not onerous in your daily schedule. And then you're able to play with that for a period of a month, then come again, take some more training, then another month, and then once again for another month. And so that's kind of our first series, and we're offering it. It's on Mondays. And we have 4 time slots. So depending on people's work schedule, there's a morning schedule, a lunchtime schedule, late afternoon, and then a early evening schedule. So depending on people's work schedules, what would work best for them. And then once that series is done, that series will repeat every 3 months with a bit of a break over summer for a period of about 18 months. And then in January, what will happen is we'll start with a more in-depth set of workshops. There'll be 3 of those. So we'll have our 6 hours of training, and then we have something that's called 4 hours of in-office. So what will happen is once a week for a period of a month, you're going to have access to be able to have in-office hours, which Jenna will be there. And what Jen will do is be able to say, hey, if people can pose questions, they can talk about, here's a solution I tried. So it's an opportunity to create kind of a collaborative community. And we're actually looking at a tool. It's a program called Circle. It's an educational tool. So where we can actually start to host this community of practice around AI so that people can go in, get materials, but also have conversations about, hey, I tried this. Has anybody tried that? How does this work? They can even post something that they've done to generate ideas for other people. And I'll let Jen dig deeper into content.
I thanks Jolyn for saying that. It's called AI Upskilling Central Island for small business. Work smarter, not harder with AI, and that's really what the goal is to go through and upskill, go through the misconceptions, the 3 workshops. Oh, and we should say everything's online on Zoom, which is great because we cover the smaller areas, Cowichan and the district of Cowichan. We have Ladysmith and Lanceville, Nanoose, Qualicum, Bowser, Gabriola, Lasqueti, etc. So the 3 sessions are purposefully once a month for 3 months. And we'll go through foundations for small business, really getting you this awareness. The second workshop is all around this, exploring all of the different generative AI tools out there. We will focus on ChatGPT. Again, that is, and that may change in 2 years. Again, we know we have to be flexible. And then the AI readiness piece. I ran a very successful program called DER3 that helped businesses get digital during COVID. We had funding. This is when I was at Innovation Island. And so many of the things I've been seeing on the consultancy side of my business were businesses weren't and still aren't ready to get digital. And gosh, they still might not be ready for AI. So that last workshop is really laying the groundwork for figuring out doing things like your data audit. Where's all of your data? Is it dirty? We could have a whole podcast and radio show on dirty data. But have you mapped out your workflows? What does your customer journey look like? What does your online presence look like as well? Again, this isn't marketing focused because nobody, let's face it, nobody really knows how to get on to be found on, let's say, referred from ChatGPT. Nobody really knows, but we do know you need an online presence. And so we really take that approach and really thinking through this AI disruption exercise will be in the last workshop. Is if you were to start your business today, how would you start it with an AI first mindset? Because those are the businesses that are starting, and that's how you're going to get, moved along if you're not thinking that way. And this is it. We have to think, do, and act differently. The 7 most expensive words in business are we've always done it that way, and we can't do it this way. So that exercise really thinks through, because we don't know, but let's think about what it might be. And the community of practice is absolutely from lessons learned. Every single, 3,000 plus users I've trained, locally and globally. And they have said, we get the most value when we can talk to each other, when we can share our use cases or examples, because your imagination is your only limitation in this. So having those online office hours to build out a community of practice, we have thousands of businesses in our region. Well, at least probably a couple thousand, right, Jolynn? And we're going to put over 600 people through that. That is huge learnings. We have to be collaborative. This is a learning journey together. And that's why we purposefully built the AI community of practice together.
What we know for sure is community practices are truly the best ways for people to learn. You get your best practices from that, and you are able to ask questions you might not be able to ask any other audience. So I agree with you. I think I think anyone who's worked in the nonprofit sector or small business sector is really sort of, we've all understand the value and the benefit of COPs. But having said that, what I'm curious about too is, because you've had these experiences for the length of time that you have, Jolynn, I'm not sure if your experiences have been the same, but between the two of you, what kinds of obstacles have you seen in the way of those people coming to the table and saying, listen, I am freaked out about AI? Because I still hear that a lot. I still hear people saying, it's Big Brother, they're looking at everything we're doing. There is that. I don't like to come to the table in a negative tone, but I know that those are the things that I hear. I hear them all the time. So I'm curious, like, how do we get people on those two sides? The first side being that perhaps older adult that is a little, freaked out, or that longtime business person that has been doing it, as pointed out, the worst words possible, like we've always done it this way, so this is the way to roll. And on the other side, the new generation, which is incredibly open to these things, despite seeing some of their jobs disappear and the fear that goes with that. So, what kind of feedback are you getting from these different people, and how are you moving that agenda forward in a way that comforts that or tempers that a little bit?
Yeah, all great points. I really believe that we have to show people. We have to show them the use cases, hold up the phone, look at the watermelon to say, is this watermelon ripe or not? I think by showing, people can then visually, because you don't know what you don't know. I also say, if you're on Facebook or Instagram, people know about you anyway. So, if you've ever purchased something online, people know about you anyway. But there are best practices, if turn off the training model so your information doesn't go into it. Don't use tools like DeepSeek that store and keep your information, and use it even if you delete the account. There are 40,000 plus AI tools out there. You need to read the terms and conditions. And then as a business, you have to have an AI policy. And this is not don't use it. I'm sorry, you'll be dead in the water if you say things like don't use it, because your people will likely leave. This is part of what we're doing. But having an AI policy that encourages exploration, ensuring that you don't put, sensitive company data in, that you pay for a tool like a ChatGPT, a Claude, or a Gemini, so that you do have some safeguards around it. But I think it's really about learning. And we can't assume, Kathy, that the younger people are fully on board with this. There's a fellow I work with, and he has the same degree from a local university in business and entrepreneurship. And he said none of his friends are, they care, they don't want to be, uh, they're not really curious about it. They're not concerned that it's taking their job. They're doing like bad prompting, copying and pasting with AI slop, which I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, it's one of the leading business schools in Canada. And these kids, younger people are coming out. I thought it's the easiest and the best time to be an entrepreneur. You must be so excited. And he said he's one of the only ones in his circle. And I was completely shocked by that.
Really? That is
Yeah,
interesting.
I think the best people that are also suited, Kathy, you've been in business for how many years? Jolene, you've been in business for how many years? You are the best suited to be able to learn this technology because you understand operations, you understand businesses, you've seen the ups and downs, you've seen some recessions. You're these subject matter experts. Gosh, bolt AI on as a tool. Talk about empowerment.
Right. Very, very true. And I see that. I mean, I remember being part of Community Futures years ago. Uh, Community Futures as a whole does incredible work. They really do have the building blocks to help small businesses and new businesses in community succeed. Jolene, as people are coming to your table, how excited are they about having this as this extra fabulous tool? Because it
Well,
truly is.
Well, we're hoping that people are excited. We're really encouraging our clients, our current loan clients, and clients that are taking our coaching, et cetera, to come onto the program and to be involved. Also, we have business coaches, and we're saying to our business coaches, we want you to participate in this training because we want you to be able to utilize, these tools, as well as to be able to give some ideas to our clients on how they can use these
Yeah.
tools. As staff at our organization, we utilize the tools on a regular basis, and we do coach our clients on how they can use different tools to be able to work with their business and make things simpler for themselves. So for us, it's a big thing. And it's interesting because when you talk about that adoption, how do you get people interested? I have friends that are in their late 70s, and we were chit-chatting one day and we were talking about ChatGPT and stuff, and they went, oh no, we would never be able to. We wouldn't do that. And
Mhm.
by the end of the evening, we downloaded ChatGPT to their iPad, basically. And my girlfriend was telling me about how much time she spent looking at recipes online. And I said to her, you don't have to do that as much anymore. I said, what are your favorite recipes? And she said to me, well, this is, I'm going to say it's allrecipes.com, but it was a site. I said, so take your top three. And then what I want you to do is go into your fridge and look at what are the 5 ingredients you have in your fridge, and then go to ChatGPT and say, these are my favorite sites. This is the 5 things that I have in my fridge. I want you to give me 3 recipes that I can make in under 20 minutes. And she said, you're kidding me. I said, no. So she did it. And they came up and she said, oh, these recipes all look awesome. And it took like 2 minutes. I
Yes.
said, yeah. So now you can recapture some of your day to do something else.
Yeah.
And her husband, he's a volunteer for a local church. And he's been that person forever. They want to travel more and do some things. And he said, yeah, I can't get anybody to take on this job. And I said, well, why? He says, because, there's a lot to it. So I said to him, okay, I want you to download ChatGPT on your phone. And I want you to talk into it about what you do every time you go to the church and what are you doing there. And so you can create a manual because he doesn't type. I said, so you can create a manual that then you can download and you can actually give to somebody so that you can walk away from this for a
Oh,
couple of weeks. So those are 2 individuals right there that would never have ever thought about that as a tool that said, you know what? Okay, I'm not as afraid of it anymore. And this has value to me.
yeah.
And I think it's just that
Yeah.
community of practice is where you actually you don't know what you don't know. People are fearful of things. It's like if you've never swam, it's kind of a scary experience, right?
Sure.
So if someone can put a life jacket on you and kind of put you in the water and start to give you this is, go to your knees. This is where this is at, okay, let's go a little farther. Let's learn how to, how to sit there and kind of, just, sit in the water and be comfortable. That's the kind of tools I think for a lot of folks that they need. whether you're 23 or you're 73. I think that's the biggest thing, is that you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
and take away the fear and the intrepidness of it. You just have to go into your ankles, go into your knees, maybe up to your waist. And then at some point in time, you have a comfort level.
And it's that AI aha moment that
It
people,
is.
once they have that AI aha moment, and maybe it's the example with Jolene's friend, or maybe it's that it whipped up, a business plan for you, or maybe it's helped you troubleshoot your HVAC because you felt silly about phoning the HVAC, technician, and you snapped a photo of the model number and serial number and he said, help me troubleshoot this. You have to have your own individual AI aha moment. And once you do, wow, do the doors open?
Listen, the wow moment came for me. Meeting you originally,
Yeah,
several months ago, and we've had a couple conversations now about this, and it just AI for me has just gotten better and better.
yeah.
It's simple things that you don't have. People don't like to talk about themselves, let's be honest, right? But quite
Mm,
often in business, you really do need to give yourself a bio, right? You have to
Mhm.
give that, your
yeah.
paragraph on who you are. So out of curiosity, my dear friend Jeremy, he said, I'm going to find out about Kathy Holmes. And so he went to AI and he said, holy mackerel, Kathy, he said, the community loves you. Like that just, it pulled up this absolutely gorgeous, write up that I would never be able to do myself. And so what I did do with it later on is I had to have a bio for another event. And that's exactly what happened. I said, ChatGPT, Kathy Holmes, I'd like you to write me, a very simple paragraph about some of the highlights of my career, and please put that together. And boom, it was done in less than a second. And it was a really nice, I couldn't have written it better. So there's that. And I also want to encourage, employers, right? We're looking for certain people that have that creativity, that have that ability. Young people now that I used to go to Community Futures or places like Community Futures to get resume training, to get, upskill training and stuff like that. You can go to ChatGPT and have your full resume created for you. You just give
Mm,
it the right data. Tell
Mhm.
it what you need
contact.
to know. Context is everything. And so I really want Jennifer and Jolene for us to stress that context, please. You really did make a point to me a long time ago that it's only as good as the questions you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the information that you give it as well. And remember, the output that a generative AI model gives you, it's like an autocomplete. It's like a prediction. So we put in the same question, we're going to get different answers. It's not Google. It's not a searching and finding the information. Yes, web search is built in, but you have to give it the context, whether it's files that you upload to say, here are my mission, vision, values, here are my key clients, or even as Jolene's example used, here are the 3 websites I use that I really love recipes from. Snap a photo of what's in my fridge. Now go and create me recipes. You need to give it the context about who you are or what good looks like. And the better that you communicate and talk into these tools or interact with the tools, the more it starts to learn about you. And then it makes it easier every single time you go and write an email. But you cannot use these tools like a vending machine. Don't just ask for a chocolate bar. Say things like, as a strategic advisor for the top nonprofits in Canada. Now let's have a conversation.
Mhm.
It's using it as those strategic partners, that critical thinking, not just an ask and retrieve.
Mhm.
That's how you get to the next level.
And I think that's important too, as you said, it's not Google. And because a lot of the people that I've been talking to are using it like Google. And I really
Yeah,
want to dispel that because it's
next
so
level.
much better. It's so much better. So each of the courses that you're going to offer with the AI Upscaling Central Island for new business, and I know there was a tagline that came after
Yeah.
that. Um, you know, for each of these components, you said there are a couple of hours. In each of them, what kinds of tools do you think that people will walk away from? What's your hope that each individual will walk away from?
Absolutely. So it's AI upskilling for business Central Island. So not just for new business, small business, and nonprofits as well. Work smarter, not harder with AI. So the first workshop, the learning activities really include things such as the foundational concepts, dispelling some of the myths, we're going to look at different tools and really look at what an agent is versus an automation versus an AI. We're going to really start to look at opportunities that you might be able to immediately use, building that intuition, and then introducing you to that AI community of practice. The second workshop, that's where we get into the skills of the prompting or the asking questions. You can bring to the table the specific business challenges, thinking about what did you last procrastinate on? What did you last research? What are the tasks or those vampire tasks? And really trying to think of what those quick wins are. Jolene and I believe that you can't just implement AI across the entire business. It doesn't work like that, and it changes so quickly. But picking one or two of those areas for the quick wins, so you can start to see improvements. And then really that last workshop, again, they're all online. They're 2 hours each. It's really getting ready for AI, and we can't wait. You need to start doing something now. So it's that AI disruption exercise, doing a data audit, finding out what your team is doing now, where you can save some efficiencies. Remember, technology does not solve bad business operational workflows.
Fabulous. So
It will, if anything, it will showcase what's not working. But not everything is a tech or an AI solve either. There might just be a business process improvement. And we really want in that last workshop to think about, how is your role going to change? Because it will. How is your industry going to change? It will. How is your specific business? How can you not be disrupted by AI? And Jolene says all the time, it's not you being replaced by AI. It's a business using AI that is going to replace you. You need to think with that AI first mindset. And that starts with this fluency. And then we have the office hours, which will be really great that you get as well. So
I think that's just, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for our community to have that. Jillian, when you were first starting with AI, first of all, how long have you been playing with it and getting accustomed to it, first of all? And second of all, what was your aha moment when you said to yourself, oh my gosh, this thing is just be all end all fabulous?
Right. I'd say I've been playing with it for 2+ years. I've been, Jen had me being an early adopter early on.
Yeah,
And
puts a good influence on us, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's grand.
well, I'm an AI pusher.
Yeah. So, I started fairly soon on, and I think what really for me is actually we were working on grant applications.
Yeah.
And we know what we want to say. We know where things are at. We are subject matter experts pretty much in what we're doing.
Sure.
And we're looking at this, at applications, and they're asking a question, and we're limited to 150 words. Okay, so we know what we want to say. We know what subject matter needs to be in there. But how do we get it to 150 words so that we get our point across and it looks great, right? So that's when we started. I started using ChatGPT as going, okay, this is what I want to say, but I have to say it in 150 words. Please help me to get it into 150 words. And so that all my really important points are within that. So that's when I started working with ChatGPT to go, oh, wow, this is really helpful for me to be able to do this. So that was kind of the beginning of how I started to use it. And then I realized there were things around policy, HR policies, board governance policies, all kinds of different things. We had a template that we used. And so, taking that template and saying, this is the gist of what I want to say. I want you to take the best practices from other nonprofit organizations that are in this arena. And can you help to create a policy for my organization? And whether it was an AI policy, whether it was an HR policy, whether it was a governance policy or a procedure that I required, it actually helped me to do those things, which would have taken me hours previously to do, took minutes. So those are the kinds of tools that I started to utilize and use. And it just kind of started to go from that. One of the things is we were looking at a frequently asked questions. I took a workshop with this organization called the Forum, and there was FAQs. We knew what the FAQs were. So we took those FAQs, and then I actually went on and I went to something called Replit, which is a bit of a coding AI tool. And so we were able to actually put code those into a code that I could actually put onto my website. I didn't have to pay anybody to do that coding for me. I could do it myself and have my people that were our IT people at our website place put that code on our website, and then we had that. So there were things that I was starting to be able to do that I never thought in a million years. I'm in my 60s. Like, I'm sorry, I don't ever think I'd be a coder. I'm not a coder per se,
No.
but I can utilize tools that can actually help me to get some of those things done. That we're a nonprofit, we don't always can't afford those types of things, but at least it lets us know that, you know what, if we can get it to a bare bone or to a place where it's practical and accessible, I can maybe hire someone to tweak it and get it where I need it to go. At least I've got the basics there. So, I mean, there's been lots of different areas, webs, whether it's, emails that you want to craft, or whatever it may be. I just use it on a daily basis. And so does my staff. We all use it on a daily basis.
Yeah. And they all have paid accounts too, which I think is really important, because then you can get to that next level of another simple use case is, here's my operations manual. And if you don't have one, you can have AI help you, or your HR manual, or your, board governance manual. You can create what's called a custom GPT that you can then share internally with just a set of instructions. We did this with the marketing group the other day about their brand voice. You can then ask simple questions. What is the font style? What is the vacation policy? How do I submit expenses? So not only can you have generative AI, people used to pay me to write their policies and their operations manuals. And so I learned very on, I'm like, oh, wow, I better pay attention to this because people were paying me to do this. You can be enabled to do it yourself. And then you can create these shareable custom GPTs, and they're called different things depending on the program, that you can share with your team so that you're not wading through a 100-page safety manual or an operations manual. And that's a very simple use case that you can do. And Jolynn has, her group has a paid program so that, they feel more comfortable with the data that they put in and sharing and these sorts of things. So again, we, as businesses, you need to put in your budgets for 2026. Absolutely a paid version of generative AI, whether that's Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, etc., or ChatGPT, and likely a second one that's specific to your industry. And I think some people are very nervous about the cost, but I have an ROI calculator on my website and go into and have a look to say, how much time efficiency saving, this annual efficiency unleashed by saving each of your team of, say, 3 or 4 30 minutes a day, it's going to be thousands of dollars. So like reuse that. It's not a one-to-one money, but this efficiency that you're going to unleash, you have to put it in. And I know specifically on the island, people are very nervous about paying for training or using tools, but you just have to do it because you also will see the savings. Jolynn, how many hours have you saved?
Yeah. I mean, I think like any business, it's what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer business 101. So, I certainly see where the value is there. And I also, feel that once you get going in something and you start to feel it out and you start to trust yourself with ChatGPT, for example, or any of the other programs, and realize just how much of a tool it is, how many marketing options you'll be able to create, how many policy creations you'll be able to manuals you'll be able to make for your team, like all of those very, very professional pieces that you need to take your business to the next level. Like without a doubt, it's critical. But having said that, the other question that I have for you to do with that is, we've talked a lot about the wordsmithing of ChatGPT, right? Things that we're asking and we're saying. People also don't realize that from a marketing perspective, how the photos, how the pictures can be created. I know, one of the things that you did at a presentation some time ago, Jennifer, is you had some really great visuals specific to what we were talking about that were created as a result of ChatGPT. Can we just touch on that for a moment?
Sure. ChatGPT is one tool. They've rolled out image generation. They also, depending on if you have the paid version, they have another program called Sora that you can do video, B-roll video, and images as well. There are other tools out there. I picked a lane. I picked a large language model, and because I'm not very, creative from a music or video, but there are different tools out there that can help create these images. And I did something fun. My uncle passed away, and he always used to ride this banana bike. Every time I heard the story of this banana bike. So I took a photo of him, took a photo of a banana bike, and I asked Sora in ChatGPT to put it together, and that was on his obituary card. Hilarious. He would have thought it was the most funny thing. So as a trainer and an educator, historically, I'd have to go to a graphic designer, wait weeks to be able to. I can mock up something right now. I can mock up a web page. Jolene, and I don't know if you've seen it, but ChatGPT last week rolled out this new ability to do the Replit vibe coding in ChatGPT. It's not perfect, but you can whip up a page and then maybe give it to a designer to say, this is what I want you to look. This is what I want it to look like. So it does do some great video and images as well. So in different tools, ChatGPT, I wouldn't say is the best. There are other ones like Midjourney out there. But just getting and practicing and playing and trying. And I think it's also really important to say if you're using, like for me, I tell all of my clients, I will be using generative AI. The images that, the output is yours that you are generating. But I think it's important. And we don't have rules or regulations. And so we have to question everything. Resumes coming in the door likely will be AI generated. Images that we see likely are AI generated. So we have to execute this level of caution, especially when we're not sure of what it is, and just assume everything's AI generated.
And that's not a bad thing. That's not
No.
a bad thing. I mean, I think at the end of the day that we're leaning towards trying to get the best possible product for our communities, for the people that are participating in our businesses. We want them to have the best. And so I think that at the end of the day, that's a really great way to do it. How do people take this course? How do people sign up for it? How do we get registered? How do people say, pick me, I want to be part of this? Give us all those details.
Well, they pay me thousands of dollars. No, I'm just joking. Jill, how do people access?
We on our website, we have it's our website is www.cf, short for Community Futures, cfnanaimo.org. And we have, and it's /AI Upskilling. There's Facebook ads out there. There's posters. We've got, different forms of social media. But if they go to our website or call our office, 250-591-7499, we can send them a link. But we have a website page. It tells you about the workshops, what's happening. There's a register now button. What we've done is we've for us, it's important that people have some skin in the game. We did a test pilot of this program. What we found is that, I'm going to say 100% of the people signed up and 50% showed up. And so what we found out, if people don't pay a little something to come or have some skin in the game, they are not as committed. So there is a fee structure. And so we're taking 20 participants per session. And it's the first 10 participants are $149. The next 5 participants are $199, and the last 5 are $249.
It's different. $199, $249, $299.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
Yeah, you're
and
welcome.
So there's a price structure, and if you take all 3 workshops, you get $100 credit towards the more advanced workshop. So we have workshops that are available. They can sign up for them, and it's first come, first serve. And there is limited seating, so encouraging people to come out and take the training. And there is, like I said, our website has information, or if they want to, they can phone our office and get more information there too. I want to also say that, one of the, you talk about practicalities, and we had a client come in the other day, and they were talking about how much time they spend on scheduling their employees, and they're doing it manually. And we said to them, you know what? You just might want to go and play with ChatGPT around that. Here's my list of employees. This is their availability. This is when I need people to work. And see if it will put together a work schedule for your employees in 2-week cycles for 6 weeks. And that employer came back to us, and they did it. And they went, do you want to know how many hours I have saved by not having to do scheduling anymore?
Agreed, 1,000%.
So that's just a simple, test case use that someone can do that never really entered into their mind. And so when we can talk about policies and all those types of things, but then there's, getting down into somebody who's, really needs the nits and grits of things. There's one thing right there that could help somebody save a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, I scheduling. I remember doing it for my team, and I had a large number of volunteers, and I got to
Mhm,
tell you, it takes effort, it takes work, and boy, is it lovely to be able to use a tool to make that go away and that stress of it go away.
mhm.
And again, you can't take away the human component, but you can certainly limit the stress that goes with the human
Yeah,
component. That's for
yeah.
sure. Listen, what I always ask people, I know we're at the end of the program now, so I just really want to touch base with you real quick. I will, for those people that have know our show, you know that you will see us on YouTube as well. You know, you'll find us on iHeartRadio and Spotify, so do make sure you check us out. When you do go to the YouTube station, all of this information is going to be right there in the chat box, so by all means, check it out. I always ask my team, like whoever comes to be on the program and share their wisdom, to share their wisdom. Like if you could imbibe, I'll start with you first, Jolene. If you could imbibe onto our community, the big takeaway regarding what you've learned and what you've experienced, what might that look like for you?
I think that you're never too old to learn.
Yes,
And so I think that you, I try to live my life with some form of curiosity. And I think that that's a really important aspect is that you're never too old to learn. You need to be curious about the world that you live in today. It doesn't mean that you have to take things as, the gospel or the word,
for sure.
but go out and experiment and try things out. And you don't know what you don't know. And then also too, sometimes what you do learn is kind of cathartic when you go, wow, I can save myself this amount of time, or this gives me time to be able to do this or that. It's interesting. Even my partner, Chat GBT, Jen got him on it, and I never thought I would see him use it to the level that he does, but he uses it daily. And I'm just going, wow. And I was surprised. I was kind of skeptical actually. And so I think that it's that level of curiosity, and that once you start to use it and it's relative to you and yourself and your world. And I think that's really the important part of it is it has to be relevant and relative to what you're doing in a day-to-day aspect. You'll see that it really does make your life somewhat easier. And you know what? I think we live in a world that has a lot of stuff going on it. If there's one less thing that you have to do, it's a great thing in my world.
Love it. Great wisdom. Jen, how about you?
I really believe that your imagination is really your only limitation. And if you don't know how to do something or what it can do for you, ask it. Whether that's, reading letters. I have letters that are written in Finnish. I can't speak Finnish that are from my great grandmother. Scanning the letters. Now have a world into what she was doing in the early 1900s. Get in and say, I want to create a story for my child about a unicorn and a Sasquatch, or snapping photos of your kids, images that they've drawn for you and bring that to life. There are so many things, but as Jolynn mentioned, you have to find your AI aha moment for it to click with you. We never thought that we'd be carrying around one of these phones with us for years and years. Most people can't live without it. We will get to a time where we see this and then think of it as an empowerment, bring that curiosity. And I just want to say thank you so much to Jolynn and Community Future Central Island. You really are on the forefront. This is the first innovative program on the island specifically for AI. And it's allowed me to continue the mission to not leave any business behind, especially on the island when it comes to AI. So I just want to thank Jolynn and thank you, Kathy, again for having me on the show. And I'm just really excited. So cfnanaimo.org/upskilling. Super excited to see you come through and hope to see you online.
I think that that is arguably the two best pieces of wisdom we have heard for a while. Get in, enjoy it, have a little fun with it. Just start. You'll be
Mhm.
glad that you did. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody. Thanks for
Thank
tuning
you.
into our show today on CHLY 101.7 FM. Again, I'm Kathy Holmes. You've been listening to Act 3. Super glad that you joined us. We'll see you next Monday. Have yourself a great day. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.